Today we are starting the second half of chapter 3, so we'll do 3.4. Tomorrow we'll do 3.5. We're going to skip 3.6, but we are going to do 3.7. If you're following along in your book, we'll do that Wednesday. Thursday we will review the whole chapter, so what we did last week and what we did this week. Friday you are taking a test. Any questions before we get going? All right. You should see this in your notes. It says, refer to the figure below to complete the table. Now, last week we learned about all these special angle relationships, and you guys did pretty well with it. Remember, if they're in the same position, we call them corresponding. We have alternate interior, which means different sides of the line on the inside. Alternate exterior, which is different sides of the transversal on the outside. We also had same side interior. I mentioned last week that those relationships are great, but they're really, really special when the lines are parallel. So today we're going to talk about what happens when these two lines that are crossed by the transversal are parallel lines. So if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then there are 4 facts we know that are always true. Fact number 1 is that corresponding angles are congruent. So in that diagram, which angles would be congruent? 1 and 5 are corresponding. Good. Oh, I guess we'll do that part next. Sorry. We'll do all the facts first. All right. I also know that alternate interior angles are congruent. So alternate sides of the transversal, but inside the other two, those are congruent. Third thing we know is that alternate exterior angles are congruent. So different sides of the transversal, but outside the two lines. Same side interior angles. This is kind of the crazy one. These are supplementary. So 3 of the relationships we talked about give you congruent angles. The odd man out is the same side interior that gives you supplementary angles. All right, so a minute ago we were talking about the corresponding angles being congruent, and someone said angle 1 is congruent to angle 5. Does anyone know another pair of corresponding angles that are congruent? 2 and 6 would be congruent. That would also mean that angle 7 and angle 3 are congruent. And what was the last one you said? 4 is congruent to 8. Good. So all the pairs of corresponding angles are congruent. Now, can someone give me a pair of alternate interior angles that will be congruent? 3 and 5 will be congruent. And then, yep, the other one would be 4 and 6. All right, alternate exteriors. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 7. Good. Angle 2 is going to be congruent to angle 8. Good. Thank you. The 4th fact we learned does not have to do with congruent angles, but the angles are supplementary. I still want to list them, though. So let's put a star here, because they don't really follow the directions, but it's still important. So give me a pair of same side interior angles.
3 and 6.
3 and 6 is one, 4 and 5 is the other. So I'm just going to say that the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 5 equals what? 180. Good. So they're not congruent, but they still have a special relationship. All right, so is the other one. So the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 6 is also going to equal 180. Okay, so your notes have a little bit something extra that for some reason got cut from the PowerPoint. So let's fill in that chart as well. So there was another couple relationships we talked about in chapter 2. Does anyone remember one of them? Yes? Vertical angles. So, yes. So the fact is that vertical angles are still congruent. This is not a new fact, but vertical angles are congruent. So in that diagram at the top of your notes, it's not on the board anymore, so you just have to look in your notes. Which angles are vertical angles?
1 and 3.
1 and 3. So angle 1 would be congruent to angle 3. Angle 2 would be congruent to angle 4. Angle 5 would be congruent to angle 7. And that leaves us with 6 and 8 as well. Okay? Questions? All right, I'm going to erase this when you're ready. And we'll fill in for number 6. Now, number 6 is another relationship that doesn't give us much about congruence, but it does give us two angles that add to 180. Does anyone remember what those angles were called? We learned about another pair of angles that appear sometimes that add to 180. Linear pair. Yeah, so we also need to remember that linear pairs are supplementary. Okay, so from our diagram, do you see how like 1 and 2 are a linear pair? So the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 would equal 180. Now, there are a lot of these because angle 2 could also go with angle 3. Yeah, so I'm just going to list that one as well just to show you. And then I'm actually just going to put dot, dot, dot. Okay? You could fill in the rest if you wanted, but any two angles next to each other that make a straight angle, it's a linear pair, they're going to add to 180. There's a lot of combinations in that diagram. If you want to write them all out, go for it. I think it's more important that we start looking at examples about the new stuff, because again, this is from last chapter. And there is no 7. I'm not sure why I put that. All right? Are we ready for examples now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so number 1 says for each problem, describe the relationship of the angles, then find the missing measure. So these two angles are what? Corresponding and congruent. Good. They're corresponding. So what's the measure of angle 1? 60 degrees. Good. The ones you want to keep an eye out for are the same side interiors or the linear pairs. Questions for number 1. Number 2. Same side interior. What's so important about same side interiors? They're supplementary. These are the only ones that aren't congruent. These are supplementary. So I need to do 180 minus, and I get 110. 180 minus 70. Just the angle that they give us. Now, some people want to say this is like a 2-degree angle. They're just numbering this angle so we know which one we're looking for. Okay? So this one has a measure of 70 degrees. This is just the missing angle that they're calling angle 2. All right, here's number 3. The relationship here is what? Alternate exterior. And what do we know about alternate exteriors? They're congruent. So the measure of angle 3 is 50 degrees. Good. Questions? All right, here's number 4. These are vertical angles. Yeah, you can tell they're a linear pair of vertical angles instead of one of the other ones because they don't even involve one of the lines. See how this line has nothing to do with it? Like if I covered this up, it would still be the same question. You know what I mean? You don't even need the 2 parallel lines with the transversal. That's a good indicator that it's a chapter 2 term or it's a chapter 2 concept. So yes, these are vertical angles and vertical angles are congruent. So the measure of angle 4 is 81 degrees. All right. Anyone having any thoughts? So, in this one, you kind of have to do a few things. So, let me back it up a second. So, these 2 angles, these 2 lines are parallel, right? Now, we need parallel lines with one transversal in order to name it one of the things we were just talking about, right? So, these 2 are the parallel lines, and this one's the transversal. This guy's too far away, right? If these 2 are the parallel lines and this guy's the transversal, he's still too far away. If we make this the transversal, now he's too far away. So we have to sort of use like a stepping stone, okay? Because I need to get from this one all the way over here. So it looks like, since I peeked ahead, they use the fact that this one and this one are alternate interior, and this one are same side interior. So what do I know about same side interior? Same side interior are not congruent. They equal 180. So if you can use that to find this angle, then we can find this one because these are alternate interior. There's a lot of different approaches. That just appears to be the way it's going to pop up. So if you do 180 minus 100, that'll give you the measure of this angle. And now these 2 should be congruent. So the one we're looking for should be congruent to this one. So what is the measure of angle 5? Yeah, because now they're alternate interiors. So we had to use 2 of the relationships here. We first used the same side interior supplementary, and then we used alternate interior. You could do it sort of in reverse too, like you could have found this angle, because let me just draw on it. See how like this one and this one would be corresponding? And then these 2 would be same side interior. So there's a lot of different ways to approach it. That's just one of the ways. Questions? Kind of tricky. It's like 2 problems in one almost. All right. Back to just one pair of parallel lines, one transversal. What's the relationship? Alternate exteriors, and alternate exteriors are congruent. All right, here's number 7. Uh-oh. What's the relationship here? Alternate interiors. What do I know about alternate interiors? They're congruent. Congruent means equal. So I'm going to need to write an equation. What will my equation look like? 120 equals x plus 35. Good. How do I solve for the x? Subtract 35 from both sides. What's 120 minus 35?
85. Yeah, 85.
Very good. Questions? Number 8. These are same side interior. They're on the same side of this line inside the parallel lines. What do I know about same side interiors? Yeah, supplementary means what? Supplementary does not mean congruent. If they were congruent, I would have said congruent. Supplementary means they add to 180. Good. So I'm going to do 78 plus y minus 2 equals 180.
So 78 minus 182.
I add these together. Just put a plus sign right in the middle. Equal to 180. Now, these are like terms. So what's 78 minus 2? 76 plus y. Good. What are your questions? All right, number 9. Same side interior would be if I knew this angle. Do I know this angle? Corresponding would be if I knew this one and this one. Oh, wait, what? How do you know? The other one has a box. It's got a big old box. We learned in section 3.2 that perpendicular lines make how many right angles? How many? You guys are fun. Okay, let's try this again. I am going to trace the perpendicular lines right here. Now, perpendicular lines are always marked with one box. But we know that really how many right angles are right here? 4. A few people said 4, but there were a lot of other weird answers. So I just wanted to take a break and clear that up. Now, this angle and this angle are what? Congruent because they're corresponding. Or you could set it equal to this 90 degrees because these are alternate interior angles. Okay? So there's a lot of different ways you could do it. Or you could add it to this 90 and make a 180, but that seems like a little extra work. I don't really want to do that. So what I'm going to do is set 2a plus 10 equal to 90. And really, you could probably connect it to any of the angle relationships because there's a lot happening here. All right, now what?
Minus 10.
Subtract 10 from both sides. 2a equals 80. What's a going to equal?
Come in. Somebody knocked on the door.
Come in.
Come in.
All right, number 10. What's the relationship and what do I do?
Alternate exterior.
These are alternate exteriors, and alternate exteriors are congruent. So I'm going to set them equal, and I am going to solve for the b.
Subtract 9.
So I can subtract 9b from both sides.
Is that B minus 6?
Huh?
The
12b minus 6, yep. All right, next step would be to add 6 to both sides. So 3b equals 24, which means that b is going to equal 8. Now, be careful. Sometimes it'll ask you on these types of questions where you don't know either of the angles to begin with. It'll ask you what the actual angle measure is, and that's when you plug the b back in. So just be careful. Those do appear every now and then. They're a little trickier. Just have them on your radar. I believe that's our last. Nope. Do you have more?
2.
A back page. Holy moly. All right. These two are what?
No, same side too.
Same side interior. Same side interior are what? No.
Corresponding.
Add to 180. So I need to do 8x minus 1 plus 85. Or you could do 85 plus 8x minus 1. Same thing. Equals 180. Again, the same side interior is the one you want to keep an eye out for. Those are the ones that are going to mess you up. Now, keep that negative with that 1. What is negative 1 plus 85?
86. 84.
84. Good. Now what? Subtract 84 from both sides. That would be 96. Divide. What do you get? 12.
I was just playing. I was throwing a number out there.
Yeah, because 10 would be 80, and then 16 more would give you the extra 2. All right. Questions? Now we have one more, right? Sorry, I forgot about that back page. Okay. These are corresponding. Yes. Notice the 11 is on the outside of the parentheses. Do you guys see that? Yeah? Okay. So we're going to have to distribute the 11. So this is going to be 5y plus 10 equals 11 parentheses y minus 10. Okay? Distribute the 11. So 5y plus 10 equals 11y minus 110. You got to multiply. Then what?
Subtract 5y.
Subtract the 5y. So 10 equals 6y minus 110.
Add the 110 and 10.
Add the 110 to the 10.
That's 120.
So 120 equals 6y. Y equals 20. Good. This would be another good one for the plug it back in and tell me what the measure of the other ones are. So just be aware that might be coming. All right, that is the last example, I'm sure this time. I'm going to give you your homework. Like I said, we got 2 more days of lessons this week. And the test is also this week, so stay on top of this.